Hi, everyone. I'm Mark Seifter.
I'm Eleanor Ferron. I
And
thought you were going to introduce me all gentlemanly like.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to introduce yourself.
Well,
There we go. We're a designer and developer for Paizo, who worked as the design lead and one of the two development leads for the Lost Omens World Guide and much of the early Lost Omen line, or up to this point, all of the Lost Omen line. So we're here for Pathfinder Friday to talk to you about Lost Omens World Guide. We're going to go through the book, show some highlights, give you a few behind-the-scenes sort of secrets of stuff we did while we were working on the book, coming up with ideas for the book, and then we're going to open it up to some questions from chat. Plus, everything you see, except for the books that are open in front of us, are all going to be given away at some point during the stream. That includes the book up here, poster, and a coin. So stay tuned, and we will let you know. When to check your chat to find details about how to win these fabulous prizes.
Just the poster and Fumbus coin, but they could probably add in the book in there.
Oh, you said that all three of them.
No, I said the poster and Fumbus coin. We can throw in the book. I'll pay for it.
I'm sorry about misconstruing. Look at that. My mistake has just won you a free book. So that's what you get.
That's what you get for screwing Peyton over.
Thanks. Thanks for the compliment on my t-shirt. It really has cold resistance, which is important when I wear it during the winter months, which Eleanor can confirm.
Plus 10 AC. What's your dex mod, though?
Oh, it's not great. So let's talk a little bit about Lost Omens World Guide, what it is and what it isn't. Lost Omens World Guide overall is a book that tells you a lot about playing in the Inner Sea region of Golarion in the Age of Lost Omens. It does have details that go beyond that, but not much. Most of the page count is spent on discussing 10 sort of new meta regions or larger breakdowns of some of the nations and other areas of the Inner Sea region in Golarion. It has an update for the events that have happened in world since the last Inner Sea World Guide, by which I mean each year when we have 2000 and XX as the last 2 years, so for instance 2019, in the world of Golarion, it is 4719 right now, or 47, and it keeps the last two digits in AR is the time that they use. So since the publishing of the Inner Sea World Guide, it's been about 10 years in the real world. So therefore, it's been about 10 years in Golarion. Certain things just sort of have to change over periods of time. For instance, term-limited elected officials cannot still be in charge of their country if they ran out of terms to be elected. All the adventure paths that you guys played and were heroes and saved the world are assumed generally to have happened. We have to make some choices about what happened in the case of multiple possible endings that we might talk about when we get into the different regions. This is basically an overview that is great for someone just getting into the idea of playing in the Age of Lost Omens, or for someone who's experienced and knows about the Inner Sea region but is curious about what's new. Is there anything else you would say overall about the book, Eleanor?
I just actually want to pause because I see somebody in chat asking why the posters that we're giving away aren't for sale. Why aren't they for sale, Peyton?
I don't. That's above my pay grade.
Okay, well, sorry, Ogax. That is above everyone in this room's
It's a really
pay
nice
grade.
poster, and it's got this cool movie billing at the bottom, which is always fun. So we'll figure it out. But for now, you can win them in the streams.
Somebody's asking, did any monarchs pass away that aren't linked to the development of the APs?
Did any monarchs pass away? Well,
monarchs.
A Lord Mayor passed away.
Yeah, he passed away.
That was not linked to a development.
But he's elected, so nobody cares, I guess.
Yeah, right? He could have actually been voted out. But he happened to pass away. Did anyone else was a monarch and passed away? I guess, was there a monarch of Last Wall? Oh, wait, no, but that's connected to an AP anyway.
Yeah,
even if it happened before.
But he's also alive.
Yeah, that's true. I didn't remember if he was the monarch of them or just the head of the So he survived anyway. So yeah, I don't think any monarchs actually died in the region that were not connected to an AP, but you could prove me wrong and find someone that was in there.
Read our book to spite us.
That's right. So let's start now by talking a little bit more about the different regions and what's in the book. Any kind of secrets to start off before you can get much past the table of contents. You've got this opening picture that I'm showing here. I'm just going to really quickly show you that Damiel is hiding over on that side. We've got nice bigger pictures for each section that we're going to show you. But Eleanor pointed out just before the show that the Damiel Easter egg is just a fun one. So I pointed that there. You can find it in your own book. He's just sort of sneaking around there, fighting some kind of metal clockwork dragon.
He literally snuck into the book. We asked for the iconic alchemist, which should have been Fumbus in second edition. But I think the artist didn't get the memo. So he was not supposed to be there. We tried to kill him and stuff him into a barrel and throw him down the stream. It didn't take.
This was not actually an intentional...
This is the revenge of Damiel. He's coming for us.
That's right. So we've also got a good overall timeline for Golarion and some of the many ages of huge amounts of time that passed, the continents, the solar system, and the planes, all sorts of interesting information. And then it gets into the chapters. And each chapter represents one of the 10 meta regions. So let's put up a picture of our first meta region. So those of you who have been really following all the blogs will notice that the pictures that are at the top of each meta region are also the pictures for the flash fiction for each of those 10 meta regions. That means that if you want to see 10 really cool pieces of fiction, one about each of the meta regions, you should check out the Paizo blog and do your best to try to find the 10 versions of or I guess the 10 what do you call them? The 10 posts.
Yes.
10 posts, there you go, of the blog that have those stories. Like this one from Absalom is about an aspiring person who is traveling around through the gods market and seeing all of the fake relics and people who are selling off this is clearly the beer mug that Caden Kellen drank from right before he went on his drunken bet to become a god. And that's sort of what you see here in the picture right now.
Yeah, like one of the things I definitely wanted to do with this book is make sure that we had some really good architectural shots, especially of places we don't know what look like. And Absalom is strangely enough one of those.
Yep. And another cool thing that I really like is that every time we talk about Absalom before, all the focus is usually on Absalom, but there's a pretty reasonable section about Greater Kortos that has more information about what else is going on Kortos, the Starstone Isle that Aridin sort of raised up out of the ocean just for fun. And because there's a lot more to the island than Absalom itself, but we really mostly only explored like Diabel, the little sort of sleazier port, and Absalom in the past, and with very little amount of information about any of the other areas.
Yeah, there's mostly just an interesting sort of gazetteer, I guess, of the rest of the Starstone Isle. And of course, we've got the Extinction Curse AP heading there, so that'll be a lot of great information to expand on that.
Yeah, be sure to read the sidebar about Aeon Towers on page 20 so that you're up to speed for Extinction Curse.
What is this person hiding under his hat? I think the answer is hair and a large braid, if I understand
correctly. That's probably true. I would imagine that is what's hiding under the hat. There's also a bunch of interesting backgrounds, and of course the Pathfinder agent archetype, which has abilities that help you to explore, report, and cooperate, and maybe mess around with wayfinders a little bit.
Yeah, that's actually generic Gavix, who I think people who do Pathfinder Society will recognize, and if not, it's just a cool halfling. Hooray!
They might recognize her from either the Confirmation from Pathfinder First Edition or the new Absalom Initiation adventure from Pathfinder Second Edition.
Is the floor mosaic? Yes, it is. The streets are covered in mosaics because this is Sexy Town with the sexy Starstone Cathedral, and everything is awesome. Like,
Yep.
you notice, like, even the fake relics here are super rad. I'd buy some of those. I'd buy that giant egg.
I'd be convinced that giant golden egg was actually a relic of something.
I mean, something good is going to hatch out of that. It might not be divine, but...
That's right, Caneblade. Janira's back. Play Absalom Initiation for more on Janira. She has a whole new title now. All right. So the next chapter after that, let's take a look, is going to be the Broken Lands. Here we see the Sarkoris Scar as noted bear/feathered god of the Sarkorian people. Dolog Darkfur is sort of hanging around with a bunch of people. You can see a flash fiction about that too, going towards a corrupted abyssal castle in the distance. There's a lot going on in Broken Lands that is pretty interesting. For instance, the Sarkoris Scar is there instead of the World Wound.
Yeah, they closed it and now it's there, but there's still like a billion demons. So
yeah,
no worries for people who liked crusading against a billion demons. They're still there.
It used to be there was a billion demons, and even if you killed 100 in a day, 1,000 more crept through.
Yeah,
now there's a billion demons, and if you kill 100 in a day, there's a billion minus 100.
The major change in this region is you could actually maybe win something for once in your life. So I think that's cool.
That is really good about that region. And also, of course, the new goddess, Iron Goddess, Cassandra Lee, is around in the Numeria area in this region.
Yep.
Of course, there's a river kingdom based on your game of Kingmaker that is completely unspecified, so it can be based on
it's the kingdom of
Razran's been having its own issues based on sort of capitulating to the Whispering Tyrant. And one that's really interesting that we can give you a bit of behind the scenes about is actually Brevoy. So Brevoy has always sort of been the political intrigue on the verge of a civil war country. And really, the four leads on the project, which were Eleanor and Luis on development, me on design, and Judy on edit, we had a channel where we would just discuss things, and we were given free rein to try to figure out what kind of political intrigue could happen with 10 years of backstabbing and scheming. And we came up with like 5 or 6 pretty distinct and different and interesting weird political plots that could potentially be happening. We sort of rated them based on like fan interest, the ability for players and their characters to get involved, and the way that we were able to use various popular NPCs, or maybe not misuse them quite as much. And when we picked the one that we thought was the most interesting out of those, we're not going to do all of them, Chemlock. We picked the one that we thought was most interesting to put in there, but there were a lot of different variations of like, well, this person could do this maneuver then. And of course we also opened up Skywatch, so who knows what happened when Skywatch opened up. That is the place that had been barred from entry even to the most powerful wishes that have been cast to try to get in there. And now it's open, but everyone's gone. That's not right.
I think it's fine.
It'll be great. Plus the Aldori Duelist, which serves double duty because it can help you if you're playing in Rosland, where there's a lot of Aldori people, which is in Brevoy, or in the River Kingdom of Maivon, which also has a bunch of Aldori Duelists. So it double helps in this region. It's got all sorts of sort of swashbucklery, single hand fighter type abilities that can really help you put that kind of a feel into any kind of Aldori using character. Plus the Aldori Dueling Sword, which unfortunately says GP instead of SP, so it's like 10 times more expensive than any other weapon.
Yeah, maybe that's like your deluxe, a special version that you get a certificate
That's right.
saying it's an authentic Aldori dueling sword.
This one was created by one of the 100 students of Baron Syrian Aldori long ago.
It's part of a limited set. There's only 100 of them in the entire world.
Each one is numbered and individually engraved by the ghost of one of those 100 apprentices.
And you like, you can get a crappier version for 20 SP. I'll say that on stream and stand by it.
There you go.
But you don't get an official signed certificate.
Yeah, and you want that certificate because if someone says, "Are you really an Aldori duelist?" Because I have a certificate sword.
Excuse me, I have a certificate.
And then you could pull that out as an action on your turn, and they will shoot you and the certificate with arrows.
Great.
All right, so moving on, our next chapter is the Eye of Dread. And here we see...
I like to call it Spooky Town.
Yes. Here we see the famous Mega Dungeon Bastard Hall from Ustalov, known for its haunted nature and the strange black carriage that just seems to take any descendants of the cursed lineage from within the house, even if they were very, very partially descended, and just grab them and force them into the Bastard Hall every so often.
Oh, QVC on Twitch today. Yes, and stay tuned for exclusive poster and coin giveaway
That's
at the
right.
end of our infomercial.
You know, we almost decided to do like a newscasting about these 10 regions, but then we realized that we wouldn't be able to get you the information efficiently. So
Tune in for news from the Eye of Dread. Everything still sucks.
So it's called the Eye of Dread because it's sort of like this. You can almost see it as like an eye-shaped region where the Isle of Terror is sort of like the pupil in the center of it, and then Lake Encarthen is sort of the iris, and then there's this sort of this eye. And every country in the Eye of Dread is in dread of the fact that they are really close to where the Whispering Tyrant's new base is. This has caused some really interesting interactions for certain countries. What is now called the Gravelands is basically, it used to be Last Wall and it exploded. Now there's all sorts of undead.
Spoilers.
So that's pretty good. But also Belkzen, the horde of orcs, in one of the most unexpected twists, probably, at least to most of the people in the local region, they would have assumed when the Whispering Tyrant came back that the orcs would just capitulate and follow as his hordes, just like they did the last time he was there. But the orcs were having none of that. And they didn't like the idea of working for the Whispering Tyrant, and so they refused.
Well, I mean, they refused in orcish fashion, which meant they put somebody's head on a pike.
Yep. And while some orcs still like the Whispering Tyrant and want to support him, Belkzen as a whole does not. This forces Belkzen to have to ally with neighboring nations, like pretty much all of which were its mortal enemies up until that point.
Including the orcs of Belkzen.
Including the other orcs of Belkzen. Absolutely. Even Nirmathas and Multhun are going to have to behave a little bit more.
Well, they don't have to.
Well, if they don't want to get attacked by the fact that they border a lake that is now could have like undead bone ships coming at them.
But they don't
any
have to.
Oh, sure. There's also that new nation, Oprak, hobgoblin nation formed by the Iron Fang Legion and powered by the fact that they can use the plane of Earth to get to places real fast and do trade. I'm sure they're going to use it for trade and not for moving large numbers of troops. And just sending mercenaries to people who pay for the mercenaries, not invading anybody, of course.
Sure. I mean, they did sign some treaties, so you're safe because they're lawful.
Right? They're going to follow those treaties until the moment when they really, really don't want to.
Well, until the moment when they expire. The treaties are only for 3 and 4 years. But they did sign a treaty with Nidal, actually. In fact, Nidal was the first person to approach them, which I'm sure doesn't mean anything. It's not like the Needlese lords have been known for extremely weird and creepy decisions that pay out for them in the end.
You know what? Those guys have been around for thousands of years, generally not conquering everything, so I'm sure it'll be okay.
There's a sidebar that suggests Arazni is a divine entity again. She always was.
I mean, she has a picture. You wouldn't have drawn a picture of Arazni if she completely got annihilated.
Well, she also granted spells when she was the enslaved queen of Geb, so she never actually stopped being a divine entity.
Yep. Arazni is a very interesting and nuanced character who has just been starting to get more of a treatment where we look into the nuance and the possibilities with her rather than waving past them. So look out for more Arazni stuff in the future. Also, there's a fun sidebar about like making Fae bargains where the Fae ask for some bizarre thing from you and give you the ability to do focus spells.
Yes, we have provided you some great rope to hang your players from, or rather for them to hang themselves.
But like you could be able to like turn straw into gold and just give them your firstborn child. Like you don't even have one right now. You can afford it.
It's like suckers.
All right, so moving on from there, let's go to the Golden Road. And in the Golden Road was the chapter that had its name the last because it was originally called Ancient Empires region, but really there are ancient empires in every region.
Yeah, nobody liked that name, but nobody could think of a better one.
Yep. So, but then eventually somebody did, and Eleanor, that was you, right? Who came up with the Golden Road, and then everyone immediately said, "That's a great idea. That's much better than Ancient Empires."
So it was sort of a last second stop.
It took a long time to come up with it.
I think it was the last day before Eric was just like, "You're not allowed to say any more names after today."
Yep. It was like sands, deserts, no, maybe Golden Road, and then that just worked because it's long and it's straight, stretching from Rahadum all the way across to Kadira. It represents sort of a very lucrative trading region with a lot of goods, and Golden Road it is. So there's been a lot going on in the Golden Road region, even though there's only actually been a couple of adventure paths there, one of which was really early in the 3.5 time in the Osirian Katapesh section. But Thuvia is now split off more than before in terms of how we describe the different city-states. They didn't get more separated or anything. We often just said, oh, it's just Thuvia. But now we're taking a look at the fact that some of the city-states sort of have more imperial leanings. Others want to do something else.
Somebody likes that art of Ulunat.
Yeah, Ulunat.
I really love that picture of like Sothis. And like you can see Ulanat and just sort of marvel at the fact that some people killed a world-destroying insect. They're like, you know what, let's just put this in the middle of our city and put something in it.
Why not?
And you can also see in the background is one of the flying pyramids from Mummy's Mask, wasn't it?
That's right. No, yeah, it is.
It literally just landed in the middle of the city.
There.
It's like,
they've got it here now. Now they have to deal with it.
Now we have a pyramid. Great. Awesome.
And Rahadum is just a really interesting place because often they've been portrayed as bad guys because they don't like the deities, but they really had a lot of religious wars there. So Rahadum is quickly becoming known as a place of great medicine, and the new godless healing feat is really good if you like using battle medic on yourself or having other people use it on you. And that's just because like a character who is sometimes known as the mother of modern medicine was born in Rahadum, and there's not very much information about her right now. But
not yet.
You might find out about it at some point in the future.
Oh, there's a good question.
What is that?
Are the resources written with a specific level of insight and character knowledge in mind? Should we assume that some or all of this knowledge is generally accepted?
Like the natural resources? So, like, if people don't know that there's a lot of drugs in the Golden Road, for instance, with their character, I would say probably in most cases the major resources are something a character with society or merchant lore would easily be able to tell you that, oh, yeah, you know, guns and... or not guns for this region. Like drugs, you can get Pesh from Katapesh. It's in its name. It's the latter half of the name, or any of these things mostly. But there might be some that are secret. What do you think, Eleanor?
I don't know. I think they mean like the book as a whole. Like, is what in here?
Oh, they don't mean the natural resources. They mean the setting information. So
I don't think we blow anything too strange.
We certainly don't have any sidebars that are like, this guy is secretly a vampire. Nobody knows that he's a vampire. And that's generally our bellwether for that we've sort of put something in a book that the PCs shouldn't see. But mostly it's information that someone who lived in that area probably would know by this point, and that another character might be able to figure out with a lore skill or a society check.
Yeah, I think if you are from the specific nation listed, you should assume you probably know most of that stuff.
Right.
Like maybe if you're like visiting from, you go down from your place in Irison and you go into Taldor, is like, what the heck is wrong with these people?
Yeah, right. Or like if you're from Brevoy, you might not know about Oprak yet, but because Oprak is among the more recent things. But you might, it depends on if you have society. Let's move on. We've gotten about halfway through. Let's move on to the high seas.
Jaws.
And we've got an orca here, just because you have to have an orca in the high seas. So the high seas is a region that really represents the broadest. Like if you look at the map actually usually zooms in on the other regions, but this one, it zooms out. because you've got the Arcadian Ocean and pretty much the entire west coast of Aveston and the northern part of Garund that we have a map of. So you've got places like the Eye of Bendigo, Medigulti Island with the many red mantises there, the whole Shackles, but also the Shining Sea in the north with Hermea and the Morden Spire, the whole Ironbound archipelago of the Land of the Linarn Kings, and now in contention with their new, quote, friends from Bellamarius a little bit. Now, obviously, once you get onto land, you're not in the High Seas region. But the High Seas region just has all of your options for aquatic and seafaring adventures. Plus some swim fins.
I'd be remiss if I didn't point out the boat with the Nightwave masthead on it. Not masthead. What is it? Figurehead.
Oh, yeah.
That's Luis's favorite boat.
Yeah.
Called the Nightwave.
It's the Nightwave.
Although I'm not actually sure if we're allowed to say that name.
Maybe you are. I don't know.
Is it OGL? We don't know.
We're not sure. Oh, I see, because the Nightwave is the type of night shade. I think that's...
Nightshades, yeah.
Yeah. Aren't they called night something else? I don't know. But the point is that it might also be firebrands. Check out the Flash Fiction for more information. And here we've got a Red Mantis assassin and a bunch of backgrounds, plus a cool picture of our merfolk that is not any of the backgrounds on that page, but is too cool to ignore.
You can't be sure that merfolk, it wasn't press ganged into something.
From stories I've heard on the internet about so many people who had merfolk in Skull and Shackle, and it was like, but then they would have died from having to stay on deck for so long. Well, you might be right.
Do merfolk dry out? I thought that was only Gilman.
I thought that they eventually dried up, but maybe they're fully amphibious.
But I mean, like, that guy's missing a hand. He might have been press ganged.
He easily could have been press ganged. Okay, I'm going to give you that one. All right, so the next region is the Impossible Lands. So the Impossible Lands is one of the most wahoo regions in the entire area. It's got...
Thank you for summing that up for the people who make, like, the Galarian simplified maps. Just put, can I get a wahoo?
Yeah, you can just get a wahoo because it's got the undead nation that's the breadbasket of the entire region because zombies don't eat the grain and they just produce lots of grain. It's got the crazy all the magic either doesn't work at all or is doing the wrong things, mana waste. Plus, we've got lots of guns, and we've been sitting on them for a long time without innovating. Alkenstar that's in the middle of there. It's got Nex, which has oozes and weird flesh warps, alchemical research, and constructs up there. And then there's the island of Jalmaray with all of the elemental monks doing all sorts of impossible feats.
Yeah, this is one of the ones I really liked ordering the art for because, again, we don't know what half this stuff looks like.
Now we do.
Yeah, so this big spread is of Miswan, which is the capital of Jalmaray, and they described it as a red pagoda city. So here you go, and it's pretty cool. You've got, I'm pretty sure that elephant is summoned because even with elephants being big, they're not that big.
And of course, we talked about Razni before. Now that she's not with him, Geb has like broken out of his sad, oh, Nex isn't answering me, he's ghosting me, super.
It's just sitting there. He left me on red for like 5,000 years, clicking refresh for hitting F5.
So now I think that's going to bring a lot more possibilities into the region because we don't really know in modern day what Geb actually ruling a nation would be like, and it sounds to me, just based on the characterization of him, that it might not be good. It seemed like Erasni was holding that ship together.
Do you mean like not good as in bad for the world, or not good as in it's gonna be a farce?
Both. Because if there's a farce, even in Evil Nation, you might usually think that's okay, but when it's your major grain producer for large numbers of countries, it's not always okay if there's a farce.
Well, maybe you shouldn't depend on undead the zombie town for all your food.
That is a good idea. I think the nations of Golarion who don't like zombies should make a pact to try to become like Geb Grain independent over the course of a certain number of years.
We need to put economic sanctions on those zombies.
Right. Put a tariff on, and we put a stamp with like non-zombie grain on certain shipments of grain.
100% all living exploited workers.
That's right. Oh, Catapaths would do that. Wouldn't they? They'd be like, well,
and it would be true.
They'd be like, well, at least this isn't zombies. Or Okino. Well, there's information on the Houses of Perfection, which includes the Unbreaking Waves, a new house that was discovered, well, an old but now new because it was thought to have been destroyed house, discovered to still be in existence by the Pathfinder Society. And
those wacky Pathfinders.
Plus, you could take the Eye of the Arc Lord's skill feat, which lets you open your third eye and do a bunch of wacky stuff.
But, I mean, nobody wants it for anything except having a third eye on your face.
And there's that. Plus, the Student of Perfection could give anybody some key and some fun things like an action to take a bunch of temporary hit points. Or you could gain the ability to just get rid of your enemy's mirror images or invisibility or things like that for 2 rounds so that everyone can wail on them before it comes back. And they're like, hey, I cast an 8th level spell that makes me invisible for 10 minutes to every sense. Why is it not working? Oh, well, I have Unblinking Flame Revelation, and it heightens to my maximum level. So the next region is going to be the Mwangi Expanse. This is one of the ones where we were like, we spent the most time discussing it and really digging into all of the different regions of the Mwangi Expanse, plus the new nation of Vidrian.
This particular spread is of Nantambu, though, which is the old, like, pretty much the oldest magical school on Galarian. It might even be on the, oldest magical school in the Inner Sea region. Might be the oldest in Galarian.
Yeah. I mean, I know it's not the oldest in the Lost Omens setting, because there's that one that's like on top of a weird elephant who is the founder of the school that is in the first world.
Well, that doesn't count as on Galarian if it's
I know. So world. I said in the Lost Omens setting, that one's not on Galarian, but it might be the oldest one on Galarian. It's definitely older than the Academy by a huge amount, and the Arcana Mirror by a huge amount. So it's also a really cool magic school where they do a lot of sort of syncretic combination between different types of magic. So if you, like me, are kind of really excited about the ideas of the magical essences and the magical traditions, well, the people of the Mogambia are also excited about that, and they've been trying for a while to focus on combining essences, focusing on material essence to sort of make a syncretic combination between arcane and primal magic, and there's all sorts of things that's going on among the Mogambia. There's only just a taste in this chapter.
Yeah, and I want everybody who gets into this section to appreciate the tiny little flags that you can barely see the details on, because we didn't have flags for a whole lot of these.
Did any of them have flags?
No, I think these are all new.
Because Sargava had one, but Vidrian is very much not Sargava.
Yeah, some of these with the fine details are kind of like, I wish that had come out a little clearer, but we'll be showing those off bigger and hopefully sometime soon.
That's right. And Vidrian, in case it wasn't clear, is sort of a new nation that was made up mostly of the former area of Sargava. And it's a coalition between the natives and the people from Sargava who were kind of not jerks.
Yeah, well, the colonists' descendants from Sargava that are still in Vidrian help them fight off the other rulers, and then they help them fight off a bunch of pirates. And so, like, the natives were like, all right, fine, you guys are cool, you can stay.
Yeah, it seems like it was always sort of an effort among the people who were not ridiculous jerks to try to work together.
Yeah, I'm kind of sad that we don't have Vidrian in this book, but I think technically the city that is in the core rule book for the Mwangi Expanse is Eridar, or the renamed capital is Enthusis.
Yeah, the former Eladar.
Yeah.
All right, so everybody, the giveaway has begun, so you can join in by hitting ! giveaway. So check it out. It is for the book and the swag. Thanks to my
thanks to us bullying Peyton.
Yeah.
You owe me.
There we go. Well, I said everything in front of us here is for the giveaway, right? And you said yes.
Or you make the post. It doesn't matter as long as you have fun with the book.
Okay.
Maybe the person who UPS didn't deliver them the book will get our book faster than theirs.
That's right.
That'd be pretty funny.
All right. So we've also got the bunch of cool backgrounds and the Magic Warrior, which has a lot of abilities that might only help you if you want to protect from divination, but does have a fun focus spell that could, for instance, give you the speed of an antelope, which is ridiculously faster than most people's speed. So that's kind of cool.
I wonder if people factor that into the thread on the forums trying to go as fast as possible.
I'm not sure. I think it doesn't like stack with like casting Longstrider or other things like that because of the fact that it's really, really fast already. But
it seems
all
fair.
right. So we've only got we've got 3 more chapters to go. Let's go through them fast.
Go.
So old Cheliax.
It hasn't changed a whole lot because it's old.
Well, I mean, it's got Ravunel now, which is formerly a section of Cheliax that broke free during Hell's Rebels. Now it is independent, and it's sort of like...
Peyton is not a prize that you can win in our giveaway unless he volunteers for that.
Oh, bless me hurt.
But yeah, Ravunel is sort of like one of the birthplaces of the new Silver Ravens, along with Vidrian. Those are 2 major areas where, and you can even see the little symbol there on the building over on the right of the little clashing swords that are similar to the Firebrand sigil that are on top of the Thrune symbol. Has been graffitied on there. There's also, of course, Nadal, which we've talked about already, and their very sketchy, shadowy ways, and Cheliax and Isger. And Isger now featuring heavily in the new AP.
I think this whole spread is basically the best advertisement we can for joining the Hell Knights. A lot of people like to go there as like, but I don't want to play an evil Hell Knight. You don't have to be evil to be a Hell Knight. It's like, no, screw that. You get a flaming skeletal cat, you get spiky armor, you get this giant gothic buildings, and get to chase down people with your flaming cats.
I mean,
Sign me up for that.
Skeletal cat. Absolutely.
It'd ruin your carpet. You don't want it.
And we've got a Hell Knight Armiger, which specifically talks about how you can move into being a Hell Knight or a Hell Knight Signifer.
And that is our iconic Hell Knight, who has finally gotten to come out of her box since what?
Hell's Vengeance.
Yeah, has she been? We finally let her out of the box, and I don't think she's seen the light of day since that AP.
I doubt it, or maybe if you count the adventure card game, she has. She has a character.
She gets
there
to come out and play cards.
So next chapter is the Saga Lands. This was one also where we just didn't really have a name that fit everything until Mike Sayer was just like, "What about Saga Lands?" Because there's sagas for the Linarms, and there's also all the tales of ancient days, and then everyone was like, "Yeah." So that's how we got the Saga Lands. It's a fun story about the behind the scenes. This is a picture that will be very recognizable to players of Return of the Rune Lords, so I'm not going to say anything else about what it is other than that.
Spoilers!
But this is a region that really has had the most adventure paths, just because Varisia is like the most oversaturated with adventure paths of anywhere, and is in this region, plus Irisen, which had an adventure path as well.
Yeah, we've been establishing the Magambia as coming up to be in more of the upper inner sea region, sort of establishing presences and little lodges there. And Varisia is pretty much the reason, along with the Whispering Tyrant. You know, finally enough APs that, like, shattered the world happened in Varisia that somebody was just like, what is going on up there? And then they went up to look.
Plus the world wound closing and them wanting to study that too a little bit, right? But Varisia is just like a place where you have to think, what is up with Varisia? Is there something in the water?
What's the newspaper say? Shattered reality this day.
It went for 10,000 years without that much stuff, but then now, after 10,000 years, they're free.
Blame Karzug.
All right. Yeah, I think we could blame Karzug. It's all his fault. Plus, you know, Land of the Linarm Kings of Realm of the Mad Lords are awesome, but we don't have much time, so we're not going to tell you about them very much.
That is not MA code. It's just a woman that is totally copying the Empress now.
There you go. You can get the Runescarred Archetype 2 to put some runes on and get some magic. Let's move to the last chapter, the Shining Kingdoms. It's our traditional sort of fantasy area, and so we have a traditional knights fighting red dragons picture that you can see here. This covers Andoran, the nation of eagles and democracy.
Eagle Land!
that
And
is totally not like any other equal and democracy country you may know.
it definitely is not.
Yeah, Taldor, sort of a monarchy that is now under new management and hopefully will not be quite as much in decline like the Byzantine Empire. And Galt, which is French Revolution all the time.
Oh, guillotines all the time.
Kyonin, the land of elves fighting against Tree Razor, the new level 25 threat from the bestiary, but not new threat to Kyonin. Druma, who like money a lot, and of course the Five Kings Mountains with dwarves.
So I really like this opening spread because it just looks like some knights fighting dragon. It's like, oh, Then you look at the knight that is just to the left of that dragon's foot and you go, oh, that dragon's real big. That's a big old dragon.
That's not just a size of large dragon.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, this is gargantuan. And that's only because we don't have colossal anymore, because we just have varying shades of gargantuanness.
Gargantuan East.
Gargantuan plus. All right. But it's more like gargantuan 20 feet, gargantuan 25 feet, gargantuan 30 feet.
Do all the countries include a reference on how to pronounce the name of the country? No, but I go with James Jacobs' philosophy that the correct way to pronounce the name of a country is whatever doesn't make people laugh at you.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
So yeah, there you have it. The best way to pronounce the name of the country is whatever doesn't make people laugh at you. Is that true for every proper noun?
Probably.
Does that mean that, like, just names like Norgorber are ones that we just don't say to people outside of the Pathfinder community?
Well, I mean, that's why he's the god of assassins, because if you say his name, he's just gonna murder the heck out of you.
Gorb. All right, so we've also got a picture of a fun druid with a leshy in the background section, as well as the Lion Blade is Catan Zalar from War for the Crown.
I love her magical girl transformation so much.
Yep.
And also look on page 126 for an old friend.
So you can take a look at the magical girl transformation and the leshy right here. And page 126 has an old friend. Oh yeah, that's true. There's another.
No, make them buy their book.
There's another iconic that's in there.
Make them buy the book.
You won't know what it is until you buy the book. But it's under Five Kings Mountains. That's all I'll say. All right. So after that, there's the very important gloss dex that has all sorts of information.
Mark, just open it up to questions.
From Desna to Lion Blades and even the snowball spell. So I think we could move on to questions.
Unless you want to read our exciting gloss deck.
So we've got a bunch of really good questions from the thread already, and we're going to start with those while you guys can come up with more questions in the chat while we're answering them. The first question is, I'll read the question, and Eleanor, you answer it if you want, and I'll give some answers too.
Sure.
What challenges did you have to face balancing being a compromise between having the book be a good starting point for new people and appealing to returning players who already knew about the setting?
Basically, we went into this thinking about that, and sort of the guiding philosophy here was that this book was going to show you a snapshot of present-day Galarian. We wanted to think that even if you don't even buy the Inner Sea World Guide from First Edition, you can take this book and you'll have a good idea of where you want to go to learn more, adventure more, etc. So that's sort of our compromise, because obviously if we're focusing on the present day, then the new players shouldn't be too confused. But that also means that we're focusing on the changes to the setting. It's how has this nation been affected by these APs, this other changes, other stuff in the setting, and that allows it to update and basically provide anything new that has happened in this area to the returning players. So for returning players, it serves as an update, basically. And for new players, it's just serving as the new version of the world guide.
At Paizo, we like to have our cake and eat it too, and we thought that format would make it great for everybody. Also, I saw a comment in chat that said that the gloss text was the best part. See?
We'll tell Luis. He will be proud.
Yeah, Luis is very happy because he worked so much on them, and Logan will be happy because he came up with the idea of doing a gloss text and pushed hard to make sure we had enough space for it in the first book, the core rule book, and now we've got him ever since. So here's the next question. Why did the Palatini shift their focus from the Whispering Way over towards the Night Heralds?
So if you played the playtest adventure, actually Mark had to remind me of the answer to this one. If you play the playtest adventure, it's all about the esoteric order of the Palatine Eye preventing a evil planet that may or may not be the spawn of a elder god. Anyway, it was going to eat Galarian, and then they stopped it. So the Whispering Tyrant is really bad, but having your planet eaten is also bad, as the Transformers can tell you. So they feel like the Whispering Tyrant has gotten a lot of media coverage, and, people are going to face that. And the whole thing where their planet almost got eaten did not. So they're focusing a little more on that. That's not to say they don't oppose the Whispering Way and they aren't going to send people out there, but they feel like they're serving a more niche but necessary purpose at this moment in time.
Yep. What do we got next? From Caneblade 83. Caneblade says, I know this is mostly for the Inner Sea region and the meta regions, but do we have any info on the rest of the world at large, even just a sidebar or something? So the answer to that is yes.
Yep.
I kind of skimmed past it right at the beginning, but there is a full nearly 4 pages that has timelines and information on different continents: Arcadia, Avestan, Kazmaron, Crown of the World, the Darklands, Garund, Ruins of Aslan, Sarusan, Tansha, and the oceans. Plus
and
a
bit on the solar system, Great Plains, sort of a rundown.
If you have the solar system and the Great Beyond, it's 5 pages long.
Yeah. We don't have enough space in this book. Obviously, people have pointed out this is even smaller than the Inner Sea World Guide we published for Pathfinder First Edition. If we got too much into the sticks about other continents, this guide would not be useful for anything because we'd have to cram so much stuff in that you could have gotten that information off the wiki. But we did include a rundown of information on those things just so people know what it is and just sort of point out we didn't forget these places existed. And we kind of hope we can get out there someday soon.
As the design lead, since Eleanor and Luis basically had to do all of that part that she just said, I think it's okay for me to be really impressed with how they managed to fit so much information. There were so many demands from so many people, like, we have to include this, we have to include that. Fit all that information into a book that's a lot shorter than the Inner Sea World Guide, but even in some ways that makes it easier to use for someone who's coming in.
Okay, so will any of the upcoming Lost Omen books have new domains? Yes. Will Lost Omens, Gods, and Magic have domains? Yes.
Yes.
Am I in understanding the archetypes correctly that the options are uncommon by default, but if you're from that region, it is considered common?
That Night Trace, that is almost but not quite exactly correct. If you check page 10, it explains access to rules elements. It's right at the end of that section we just got done talking about with the planes. Basically, if there's an option that's uncommon and it has an access entry, if you meet the criteria on the access entry, that means you have access to that option. It doesn't mean that it's common, but you might think of it as meaning that it's common because the definition of a common option is an option to which everyone has access. So when you have access to the uncommon option, it doesn't mean it's common. So if something later says this works with common options, it's still not common, but you have access to it. Does that make sense, Night Trace, or was that too confusing?
I'm glad that we can see the canon results of so many first edition APs. Is there any kind of timeline for a more gradual rollout of the results of second edition APs and when the results of those APs can be discussed openly without spoiler tags?
That's an interesting question, Kitsune Warlock.
Maybe that's something we should do. I don't think it's something that we've put a lot of thought into currently.
Yeah, I think it would be just good to know. So, because eventually at some point, we reached the point where knowing that Karzu, Rose, and Rise of the Rune Lords just could not be considered a spoiler. But it's hard to say when that time is, because some people will just put spoilers forever on everything, and I can't tell you that Sixth Sense that he's actually dead. Having a sort of a, what would you call it, like an expiration date on certain spoilers would be an interesting thing to do, but we don't.
Yeah, it's pretty much like community decided, I think. Although maybe that comes up when we have to make new books, but that hasn't actually come up yet in second edition.
That's
We're
right.
still so early into it.
So here's one from the thread. Archetypes from the book feel like a nice vertical slice of what this design space offers. Which archetype did you like working on the most, and which one are you most excited about as a glimpse of future possibilities?
Well, Mark, you wrote all of those, so I think that's a you question.
I did, but it was before the final book was done, and a lot of people had to come in to fix them, such as Logan and you guys and everyone else.
I mean, it was mostly, that's all you, take it away.
Okay. Well, I would say that I really like the, my favorite is the Living Monolith, because just you turn it to a stone person. It has a lot of cool abilities, assuming you can find a Sphinx or Living Monolith to help you with the Cost Stone ritual. And the one that is most excited about because of its connections to future stuff is the Hell Knight Armiger, because it is connected to the other Hell Knight archetypes.
It's like a million Hell Knight archetypes.
But I also do like that the Aldori Duelist gives you a hint at what some of the Advanced Player's Guide archetypes that give you more of a combat style feel could be like, in that it gives you much faster access to those dueling feats than you would have gotten if you multi-class fighter and took them at half rate. But it doesn't give you everything from fighter, it just gives you sort of certain dueling abilities. And we're real excited about having more narrower archetypes that could let you do something like be an armor master and keep getting up your armor proficiency without being a champion multi-class or something like that.
Sylvester Holding asks, the videos on the Paizo YouTube channel teasing the new IPs have been really cool. They have been. Would you ever consider making videos like that, but are more summaries for the events of past first edition APs? I don't know.
That's tricky.
I
would imagine a video is marketing budget, and what are we marketing if we're...
you'd be... I guess maybe if people like flashbacks.
Yeah, maybe.
But I feel like we actually have some fans in our community who are doing that already, and
yeah, that'd be cool.
So, like, yeah, there's definitely, like, people who do, like, videos on the setting. They don't post much on the forums, but if you go to, like, the Reddit community for Pathfinder, I see people posting up, like, summaries of various, like, informing the setting, you know, what is an Afreet? What happened in this nation? So I think you should just go and support those people.
Maybe ask them to make a video.
Yeah.
Link it on the forums. We want to see videos like that.
They're super fun, and I'm sure they would appreciate more viewers.
Here's another question from the forums. Luis Loza said there would be more about the firebrands in the Lost Omens character guide. Could we get a little preview of what their deal is?
Freedom and look good doing it.
Yes, they are all about that. They want to make everyone free, but there's a little bit of self-promotion and being a celebrity that is involved in that. So they've got an archetype that is good at boasting and doing daring deeds.
How long has passed between first edition and second edition? Nothing. Basically, once Tyrant's Grasp ends, we launch into second edition.
There's no gap this time.
Yeah.
But there has been time passed since the Interstate World Guide was published, but that's because that was a book early in first edition. But
if that's the question, then 10 years have passed.
Yes, but Tyrant's Grasp going into Hell Knight's Hill, it's 1 month.
Yeah.
And that's because wait, did the last volume come out in the same month?
Oh, that's true.
No, so it's 0 months.
Negative 1 month.
There you go. All right, let's see what else we've got here.
What is the biggest secret of the World Guide? You just like to stir up questions like that, don't you, Laurie?
Yeah. The biggest secret of the World Guide was probably Damiel sneaking in.
Yeah, because we didn't notice for a while.
Nobody knew that. Like, literally, even among the staff for a while. I think that's what makes it the biggest secret.
Just goes to show you that first edition alchemists are broken.
Yeah, there you go. Someone said they love the Eldori archetype. That's not really a question, but it is really cool. It was Night Trace. Let's see.
Wait, Damiel is in the Lost Omens World Guide? It seems like somebody came in late.
Someone came in later. He's all the way at the beginning.
Buy our book.
We tried to get Fumbus, but we got Damiel. It was a surprise.
Or just rewind the video.
Maybe it was Fumbus using a disguise mutagen to
that's true.
Took a hair from Damiel and put it into the potion. All right. So let's do another giveaway.
No, we're ending this one. It hasn't ended yet.
We're ending.
Stop bullying Peyton into giving away more products.
Peyton sent us a note that said, let's end it with a giveaway. I didn't think he meant let's end the giveaway. All right, we're ending the current giveaway.
Maybe it was Fumbus with a Lion Blade dedication? Maybe.
Yeah, it could have been. He would have taken no penalties to disguising as disguising as Damiel.
And, like, maybe that's how he gets away with, like, being a goblin and walking through towns, and everyone's like, but won't they be mad he's a goblin? It's like, no, I'm gonna be Damiel. And then he finds out no one likes Damiel either.
Linda's dwarf line blade has constantly used it in War for the Crown. Severin Laureate has won! You got it, Severin Laureate.
What have they won? All
Congratulations.
Did
Is
they
that
get the
all
whole
three?
plot?
Yep.
Oh, that's
Wow.
all three. So Severin Laureate, you can thank Paizo for and Peyton for overall generosity, and me for accidentally adding this book to your
That was a much higher stakes giveaway than I realized. I thought we were gonna do 3.
All right. So let's end that on a high note with the giveaway. So from all of us here, check out the Lost Omens World Guide, and we'll see you next time on Pathfinder Friday.
So long.
Bye.